Caroline from Rock Show Addiction, and I'm here with Chris of Underoath.
That's me.
So this is your first time in Santa Clara to play, so did you guys do anything here today?
I ventured out to Subway. I think that's pretty much the high point of my day. A couple of the guys took their bikes and went over to the Apple campus and looked around there. But other than that, just been hanging out and killing time and, yeah, just waiting for the show pretty much.
For sure.
Sorry, it's a little hard to concentrate because Peter Griffin has nipple tassels right there, and I'm... Yeah. You can get a shot of that if you want. I don't know if you'll be able to get it in there, but... See it up there? It's in the orange, yeah, but...
Oh my god. I think I've seen that episode. Okay, so you guys have an awesome lineup on this tour with, like, Comeback Kid, The Chariot, and This Is Hell. So how did you guys pick the lineup, or were you the one to pick it out?
Yeah, we picked it. It was honestly really... there wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it, but in a good way. It was just like, let's just tour with bands that we think are awesome. And we've been trying to tour with Comeback Kid for a long time, because we've known them for a really long time, since they started, because Andrew and Jeremy used to play in this other band that we used to go on tour with back in the day. And then pretty much once Comeback Kid got started, we've been a fan of that band. But our schedules literally have just never worked out to where we're able to tour. And over the past, year and a half, it's been really bad. We're literally like, okay, we're going to do this tour, come on it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we already have this tour booked. And, every tour for the past, 2 or 3 tours we've been trying to get them on. And this one finally worked out. But, yeah, in The Chariot, we've known them forever. And we haven't toured with them since, 2005, I think, was the last we toured with them. Yeah. And then This Is Hell, we didn't know them or had toured with them since before this tour, so that we've just been getting to know them. But they're an awesome band, and they thrash, and they're good dudes. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Or you specifically have a really great relationship with your fans, always taking the time to have normal conversations. Normal conversations with them, or go to
what we're doing right
yeah, go to In and Out or whatever. So what's the coolest fan experience you've ever had?
Oh wow.
One of them.
Oh boy. I don't know. That's so hard. Put me on the spot. You're gonna end up cutting this and doing a little fade after I think for 5 minutes. I don't know. I think in general, I just enjoy anytime that I can have just a, normal conversation with someone where it's not all about our band, I like just going and talking about other music or movies or whatever. And yeah, whenever I'm able to do that, that's always a lot of fun, because it's just, getting to know new people, and it's not like an interview where I'm always talking about myself or talking about our music or anything. And yeah, so I don't know. I can't really narrow it down at the moment, but I know later I'm going to think of something and be like, oh yeah, there was this one person. But yeah, there's always a lot of cool people. So
awesome. So what song off Disambiguation was the most fun to experiment on and play for you?
Oh wow. Let's see. I think probably Driftwood was one of the more fun ones, because it started. I was just messing around in the studio with something that I was writing for another purpose, actually, and I just kind of had this idea, and then Tim came in, and he was like, oh, and me and him had been working on a song we were trying to do a collaboration with a friend of ours that's a rapper, and we were going to write the music, and he was going to rap on it, but we didn't end up doing that, so we took the guitar part and messed with that a little bit, and that became the guitar part in the song. And then Daniel came in and recorded the drums with one microphone. We just put one microphone up, and we're like, hey, just play this beat over this thing. And then we experimented around with that a lot, and that was a lot of fun. So it's fun to play live too.
Yeah,
so
the effects on that song are really cool.
Awesome, thank you.
So did you approach writing your songs or writing the parts on this album any different this time around?
Yeah, no, like I think that, you know, my approach is always just kind of like, you know, experimenting as much as possible and trying to find as cool of sounds and parts as possible. But there was a lot more of me having starting ideas for songs on this record, whereas, you know, previously there wasn't a whole lot of that. It was me having ideas to go on top of what was already there. But there's a couple songs on this record where, you know, I had an idea and I'm like, hey, well, you know, why don't we start writing this song and have this part or like this key part or this electronic thing. And so I think that was probably the biggest difference with this record versus the previous one. So it worked out well. So
yeah, speaking of that, what song ended up being the one that like you and Daniel did like the drum idea on that was shown like in the DVD?
That was when he was like hitting the trash can and the grill and all that stuff. Is that what?
I don't know if it showed that on the DVD.
Yeah, I know. I think that it was
I don't know. He just said that like you guys went into like a different room and like.
Yeah. We got a there was a grill in the studio and we were like hitting on that and like a trash can lid and stuff. Some of that stuff ended up in Division. Some of it ended up, I think, on Who Will Guard the Guardians. But it's funny because like you spend all this time doing all this like stuff, but a lot of times it just ends up so buried in the mix that you don't even really like notice it. So yeah, some of it ended up on Division, but unless you're listening to it like on headphones, a lot of time you don't hear any of that stuff. So
yeah, there's so many layers, it's like hard to hear every single thing every time you listen to
yeah, it's funny because we have this kind of it's not really a saying, it's just something that we notice is that you do like 90% of the work for 10% of the people, because it's like, you know, you put down the drums, you put down the guitars, and you could have it be like, you know, 75% of what it is, and you know, most people would be happy with it. Like 90% of people would be like, yeah, like that's awesome. But you have those people that actually like listen for that stuff, and people who, you know, can appreciate that extra, like the extra stuff that a lot of people wouldn't notice if they're just like listening to it in their car. So we spend so much time like getting all these like cool like little weird sounds, or like experimenting with all different kinds of drums and everything, and that's the kind of stuff that almost nobody really cares about, but we do. And like, you know, musician friends of ours that they point out that stuff, and then like, you know, people who are paying attention like it, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I love how it's been out for like a year now and I'm still trying to like figure out everything.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
So what's the hardest part and what is the most rewarding part of creating specific audio landscapes for each one of your songs?
Whoa, those are big words in that question. Are you speaking for me personally or just as a band?
You personally.
I think the hardest part is, because the thing is with doing like electronics is it's not like playing guitar where you sit with your guitar and you're like, okay, I'm gonna write a part. Like when you're doing electronics, you have to start with making like actually creating the sound itself, rather, you know, because it could range, you know, from just like a ooh to like some sort of like crazy like gritty thing. So you have to figure out, one, what you want it to sound like, and two, then I have to figure out how I'm going to make it. I'm like, all right, well, I want it to sound like this. How am I going to do that? And there's a lot of trial and error and lots of hours that go into just like creating the actual sound. So that's probably the hardest thing. The most rewarding thing is just at the end of the day, like, you know, getting it. I think it's the same with any musician, you know, when you have an idea and then you finally get it recorded and you hear it back, you know, that's always a really rewarding thing. But yeah, lots of hours spent trying to figure out how to make a sound. There's one sound on Lost in the Sound of Separation that it literally only plays for, it's like a quarter of a second, a half a second, something like that. It's on the first song, and me and our producer spent about 7 hours trying to figure out how to make this sound, because I had heard it on a couple records before, like a variation, because I was like, I want it to sound like this, and then I was listening to a record and I was like, yeah, almost like this, and we were like calling friends trying to figure out like, hey, how would you make this sound? And we spent like almost all day for this one little really short thing. And if you didn't know that we spent so much time on that, you would just be like, why would you spend so much time on that? But it was like, for us, we were just like, we gotta get it like perfect. And this thing just fell on me. Oh, hey, there we go. I'll just put it back there. But there we go. Yeah.
What part of the song?
It's on the first song, and there's a part where it's just a kick drum, and then I'm doing like a electronic thing, and then it kind of does this build up before it goes into like this breakdown, and it does like a and it stops, and then there's like this wah type of sound. It's like a I don't know how you would explain it, but it's just like a really gritty like electronic sound. It literally only plays for like a quarter of a second, but I wanted it to have this certain feel, and we finally ended up getting it because it was a type of sound. It was on a Peter Gabriel album that I had heard, and I was just like, that's like perfect. I want something exactly like that. And it ended up not sounding anything like the Peter Gabriel sound, but it ended up being our own thing, and it was cool. So yeah.
So the new songs on the album sound very different. So how much did Daniel have to do with the progression of the sound and the way you wrote that album?
Quite a bit. Because I think that when because we write songs as a group, for the most part, we get together and, figure out how we want things to sound. And, when you bring in a new perspective and a new, viewpoint on, how songs should be, no matter how big or small, there's going to be a change there, And I think that the thing with Daniel is he was way more in line with how we were wanting to write songs, because toward the end of our old drummer being in the band, he was wanting to do something completely different than we were, and so when Daniel came in, like, he was on the exact same page as we were, so we were like, that's great. So we just had all these ideas flowing and everything, and there's one song on the album that he actually wrote a good bit of the guitar stuff on as well. We were just sitting in practice, and he was playing the sing, and we were just like, oh, we should like do a song like that. And it's funny because I don't know the name of the song, because we use all these working titles, and it's funny because Spencer always gets mad because we don't always learn the real titles of the songs, because when you're writing a song, you have to call it something. Like, if you have like 5 or 6 songs, like, well, what song do you want to play, and we call it something. And so I don't know the actual name of the song. I know the working title, but that doesn't help anything. But he wrote, a good bit of the guitar on that song, and it turned out really, really well. So, yeah.
What are some of your favorite record stores or restaurants to check out while you're on tour?
Record stores. I love going to Amoeba in LA. That's just awesome. Yeah. I always nerd out not so much record stores, but like music stores or electronic stores like that sell like vintage video games, stuff like that. I always geek out on that. There's this place in Portland called Ground Control, and they get all these not old, but like 80s and 90s arcade games, and they refurbish them, and it's like a bar. They sell like alcohol, they sell food, and then there's just like this plethora of old school arcade games, and you just go in there and like everything's a quarter, and it's like so much fun. So yeah, so I get into that. Restaurants, too many to name, like, because every town seems to have like that one place you have to go. And it's funny because being in a band and touring, like, where you go and eat always ends up being such a big deal, because it's like the thing that changes every day. You're like, oh, well, we're here, like, where can we go eat here? And so band dudes always geek out on that. And so if you like follow bands on like Twitter or Facebook, they're always like, eating it, blah blah blah, they get all stoked about it. So yeah, we're the same way. So yeah.
So you're a huge fan of Halloween. So are you going to take your daughters out trick-or-treating this year? And what are you going to dress up as? I
am going to take them out trick-or-treating. It's funny because the Halloween thing with me, I really I enjoy the less kiddie side of Halloween a lot. Like, the last Halloween that I had, the last Halloween I had at home was actually the first Halloween that I had at home in like 7 years, and I was just like, I'm going to like go for it. So like I built this whole thing in front of my house, and it took me like a week and a half, and I had built these full-size gallows, and I had like built these dummy bodies, and they looked like real bodies, and there was like people hanging, and I had like a sheet on the ground with another dummy underneath without a head. Like I didn't put a head on the dummy, and then I put all this fake blood, and then I had I bought this thing online. It was like a severed head with a hook through the spinal cord, and I dripped a bunch of fake blood on that, and then I held it from this like old nasty rope, and I had made this like costume, and the the mask was like it was what's that type of fabric? Not like hemp, but like burlap, like a burlap sack, and it was like all like creepy looking, and I was like, and I had all these different props set up in my yard, and I had all these tiki torches, and it was like all fire and everything with all these like dead bodies, and then I was like standing there, but I also had a couple dummy things, and so all these people didn't know if I was real or not, so I was standing there like really, really quiet, and then like, you know, all these like teenage girls would be like, "That's not real. He ain't real." And I'd just be like standing there, and then they would like go walk back to their car, and I would run after them and, you know, try to scare them and whatnot. And I love like haunted houses and horror movies and all that stuff. But obviously, now having young children, like I can't really do that stuff as much. But it's cool because now I'm, you know, able to enjoy, you know, them enjoying Halloween. And, you know, once they get a little bit older, I'll be able to do some more of the scary stuff. But I'm honestly probably not going to dress up as anything because my daughter, I think, will get really scared. Like, because I was actually doing some work on my house at home, and I had not a respirator, but just a mask on because I was working with these chemicals. And it was just one of those paper masks. And, like, when my daughter saw me in it, she was, like, so scared. She was like, "Oh," and I would take it off, and I'm like, "No, it's me." And then she's like, "Hey." And then when I put it back on, she would start crying again. Because she's like 2.5, so I'm probably not going to dress up. I really want to because I have all this, like, awesome stuff to wear, but it's all, like, you know, made to look, like, scary. So I
Just get, like, a cute outfit that's not scary.
Like a Power Ranger? No, I'll probably just dress my daughter up. She's in there's this movie called Tangled. It's a Disney movie. She wants to be Rapunzel for Halloween. So I found this wig. It's like a for real Rapunzel wig, and I'm gonna get that for her. So she'll have like long hair and like a dress, and she really wants to be a princess because whenever you tell her she looks pretty, you're like, "Madeline, you look pretty," and whatever she's wearing, she'll like pull the shirt out and she'll twirl and she goes, "Princess," and like, so she's gonna be some sort of a princess for Halloween. And our youngest daughter, she's almost 6 months. She's gonna be a whoopee cushion. I bought a whoopee cushion like thing online, and you just put them in this whoopee cushion sack, and they look like a whoopee cushion, and it's hilarious. So.
That's so cute. Okay, so what are your favorite albums from this year, and what are the best bands you've seen live?
Oh, favorite albums. There hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff I've been into.
You said, Circa wasn't this year, was it?
I was just thinking that. I don't know when that came out. That's a great record. Yeah, everything the newest stuff that I've been into is stuff that came out last year, like the Mastodon record. Circa Survive. As far as live bands go, we just did a tour with this band called Let Live, and they are so good, and their record's really good too, but it's not as good as they are, and it's kind of hard to explain. Like when I see them live, and I you know, now I know the guys and I know what they're capable of doing, and when I listen to the record, I'm like, man, like it's not quite as good as it could be, but they're gonna record another record, and I know it's gonna be like ridiculous. But when we were on tour with them, I watched them pretty much every night, and they put on a really, really good show. So yeah, as far as live bands go, that they have my complete backing because they're just so good. So
yeah, I've seen videos of them, and they're just insane. I'm seeing them in November.
Awesome.
So
yeah, you won't regret it. That's for sure. We because we'd never heard of them before that tour, and they ended up getting their manager sent something to our manager, and then our manager sent something to us saying, "Hey, what do you think about this band possibly being on the tour?" And I watched like one video of them playing online, and I was just like, we gotta have them on this tour. Like, and it, you know, it's a good thing, and they're all like the best dudes, and you know, I love them, and they're great musicians. So yeah, you'll enjoy the show for sure.
So you've said that Underoath won't be touring for a while after this tour wraps up. So what's going to be next for you guys?
I have no idea. Yeah, we're just at this point we're just kind of taking things as it comes. You know, we're writing very slowly. We're not putting ourselves on like any sort of schedule. You know, we're kind of just kind of playing it by ear at this point. We're working on, you know, a little bit of new material and whatnot. But after this tour, we've got the rest of October, November, December, January off, and then we have like a week-long tour in February, And then other than that, we don't have anything at all. So we're just, you know, I think that our touring from now on is probably going to be a lot more selective as far as, like, you know, we're not going to be doing like 4 or 5 U.S. tours a record. We're probably going to do like one, like, you know, just kind of like do like one U.S. tour, do one European tour, like, you know, kind of make it it'd obviously be like a bigger tour as far as like venue sizes and whatnot, but just do it less often. And yeah, but I don't know, a new record at some point, but it could be, you know, it could be next year, it could be 2 years from now. Like, I really have no idea. So yeah.
You just make me so sad.
Oh, no need to be sad. It's not a bad thing. We're just we're just, you know, we're taking our time. We're not wanting to rush anything, and we're wanting to make sure that it's, you know, good. So yeah.
And lastly,
sorry to ruin your day there. No, it's a good thing. I promise. It's not bad at all.
okay. And lastly, tell everyone why they should check out Disambiguation.
Why should they? Because it's the best record put out by any band ever. It's like the best music that's ever been written. And if you lay in bed at night and you're just like, I wonder what the best record is, we did it. No, not really. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really good at, like, selling stuff or, like, telling people why they should listen to us, because, you know, I like us and I enjoy it, and you can download it and listen to it, and if you like it, then you can buy it, and if you don't like it, then you didn't waste $15 of your hard-earned money on a record you don't like. So yeah, do what you will.
All right, thank you.
No problem.